All right, let's talk about the playbook used by the world's absolute top performers. After spending years inside these billion-dollar boardrooms, you start to see a pattern, a really clear set of principles that separates the truly exceptional from pretty much everyone else. So here's the game plan for today. We're going to break down the playbook of the top 1%. First, we'll define what it even is, and then we're going to dive deep into the core principles. Listening for what's not said, optimizing for errors, yep, you heard that right, mastering those tough conversations, playing the long game, and finally, the big one, architecting your own identity.
Most of us are taught that success really boils down to two simple things. But there's this third, kind of hidden factor at play that, well, it changes the entire game.
We all know the script, right? Either outwork everybody or outsync everybody. But the source material for this whole thing really challenges that common belief, and it does it with a super compelling observation about the people at the very, very top.
See, it's not just about the amount of effort they put in, it's about the kind of operating system they're running in their heads. It is a fundamentally different mindset, and it all starts with something as simple as how they listen.
Okay, so rule number 1, it's about finding the truth, not in all the noise of what's being said, but in the quiet spaces, in what's left unsaid.
This incredible insight actually comes from World War II, and it perfectly illustrates a cognitive trap that, honestly, most of us fall into every single day without even realizing it.
This bias is it's incredibly powerful. It makes us trust only the data we can physically see, which completely blinds us to the most important information of all, the data that's missing.
And this is where it gets so fascinating. The military saw the bullet holes on the wings and fuselage of the planes that returned, and they thought, okay, let's add more armor there. But this mathematician, Abraham Wald, he looked at the absence of bullet holes. He looked at the engines in the cockpit and realized, wait a minute, the planes that got hit there, they aren't making it back at all. The silent missing data held the real key to survival. He was listening for what he called the ghost notes, the information that just wasn't there.
And you can use this immediately. In your next big meeting, really listen for what's not being talked about. Ask yourself, what's the missing piece here? If everyone's talking about customer retention, but nobody, not one person mentions the cost of acquiring those customers, bam, that's a ghost note. If you gently ask about it, you'll start to see the whole picture, not just the part everyone's focused on.
Okay, so now that we're learning to see things differently, let's explore how top performers learn differently. And just a heads up, this is completely counterintuitive to how most of us operate.
Think about it. Most of us are conditioned from childhood to avoid making mistakes. It feels bad, it's embarrassing, we do it to protect our ego. But the top 1%, they actively seek them out. They understand that mistakes aren't failures. They're actually the fastest, most direct path to getting better. And this isn't just some fuzzy mindset trick. It's straight up biology. Your brain is literally hardwired to build new connections, to get smarter in those exact moments of frustration when you realize you've messed up. When you make a mistake, you're not failing. You're basically sending a flare gun signal to your brain saying, hey, time to build a better map right here.
So you can actually build your own little learning engine using this really simple but powerful loop. First, define what better even means. Then, and this is key, perform the task slowly enough that you can actually notice your mistakes as they happen. Pinpoint the exact failure, adjust just one thing, and do it again. The goal here isn't to feel good by getting it right. The goal is to get a tiny bit less wrong each and every time.
Building on that, our next principle tackles one of the most dreaded parts of our professional lives, conflict. But it's all about reframing it, not as a threat, but as a tool for growth. See, the best performers don't run away from those hard conversations. They actually see that friction, what we call adaptive tension, as the energy source for breakthroughs. So the trick isn't to get rid of tension, it's to harness it and make it productive. And the core protocol is a fantastic framework for this. It starts with C for curiosity, that lowers defenses right away because you're asking, not blaming. Then you move to O, objectivity, which means focusing on facts and systems, not on people. Next is R for reassurance, where you flat out state your shared goal. And finally, you land on E for empathy, just acknowledging the other person's perspective. It makes them feel heard, even if you don't fully agree. All right, this next principle, it feels like a genuine superpower, and it all comes from having a radically different relationship with time. I absolutely love the story. So the massive oak beams in Oxford's new college dining hall started to rot after about 500 years, and everyone started to panic.
Where would they find trees that big? Well, it turns out the original architects had already solved the problem for them back in the 14th century. They planted a grove of oak trees specifically for this purpose. That is cathedral thinking, solving problems for generations that aren't even born yet.
So how do we actually do this? How do we practice this kind of thinking? Well, here's a really simple framework. In the short term, like the next 90 days, your focus should be on being visible. Show proof of your work. In the medium term, say 12 to 18 months, focus on being valuable. Build the skills and systems that are going to compound over time. And in the long term, over 5 years, that's when you get to be a visionary and place your big bets.
This is the one question to ask yourself every single day. Are you planting flowers or are you planting oaks? Flowers, they're beautiful, right? But they're gone in a season. Oaks take a lifetime to grow, but they last for centuries. What are you building?
And that brings us to our final principle, which is really the foundation that holds all the others together. Because playing the long game isn't just about managing time. It requires a stable, intentional sense of who you are.
And it really comes down to this one fundamental shift in the questions you ask yourself. Most people ask, what will this decision get me? In terms of money or a title or praise. But the top 1% ask, what will this decision make me? As in, will it make me more resilient, more skilled, more honest? One is all about extracting value from the world. The other is about becoming valuable. And that really brings us to the final powerful idea. Look, your skills will change. Your job is definitely going to change. But the identity that you choose to architect, that's the only constant. So before any big decision, ask yourself what kind of person it will make you into. And remember, you're not lost. You just can't see around the corner yet. You are meant for so much more. By adopting these principles, you stop chasing success and you start building a life of meaning. Now go find it.